Welcome to a guided tour of your Flexible Spending Account benefit plan presented by IntegraFlex. Each year, millions of employees enroll in a Flexible Spending Account plan, and it's simple to see why. Almost everyone spends money out of pocket on routine medical, dental, and vision expenses, such as copays, prescription drugs, deductible and dental expenses, eyeglasses, and contact lens solution. Some other popular items include sunscreen, band-aids, and more. FSAs simply help you save money by allowing you to set aside pre-tax dollars to pay for these types of expenses. If you have children in daycare, a dependent care FSA allows you to save on those expenses as well. Let's begin and review how flexible spending accounts work. Your employer's flexible benefit plan has two types of accounts: a medical reimbursement account and a dependent daycare account. In some cases, there's a third account known as a commuter reimbursement account. All three are types of flexible spending accounts, also referred to as FSAs. An FSA is a special account set up for you by your employer into which you can set aside pre-tax dollars to pay for eligible out-of-pocket expenses associated with medical, dental, vision, or dependent daycare services. Participation in an FSA does not require that you participate in your company's health, dental, or vision benefit plans. In other words, even if you are not enrolled in your company's benefit plans, you can still open an FSA. This also means that any legal dependent can use your FSA funds regardless of their insurance coverage status. Did you know? Participating in your company's flex plan is like giving yourself a pay raise. That is because when you participate in an FSA, you elect to have money deducted from your gross earnings each pay period before federal, FICA, and in most cases, state income taxes are calculated. This means when you contribute pre-tax dollars to a reimbursement account, you pay fewer taxes and increase your take-home pay. To better clarify, let's look at the example shown. Say your gross income is $30,000. If we assume that your annual taxes are approximately $7,500, you are earning $22,500 after taxes. Now let's figure in your out-of-pocket medical, dental, and vision expenses at $1,000. You are taking home $21,500 after taxes and your medical, dental, and vision expenses. Now let's assume you open an FSA and contribute the same $1,000 to cover your out-of-pocket medical, dental, and vision expenses. Your gross income is still $30,000, but since you are contributing $1,000 to an FSA, your taxable income is only $29,000. This means your annual taxes are reduced to approximately $7,250. After taxes and out-of-pocket medical, dental, and vision expenses, you are taking home $21,750. You just gave yourself a $250 pay raise by participating in an FSA. Now that you understand how an FSA can help you save money, let's take a look at what qualifies as an eligible expense. Eligible expenses are determined by Section 213D of the IRS Code and not by IntegraFlex or your employer. In general, funds in your medical FSA can be used to pay for eligible medical, dental, and vision expenses that are not covered by a medical, dental, or vision insurance plan or reimbursed to you in any other way. Your dependent daycare FSA can be used to pay for daycare expenses for a child under the age of 13, a disabled dependent, or spouse. All IntegraFlex participants have access to a more detailed and comprehensive up-to-date eligible expense list available on the IntegraFlex website to help you determine what expenses are or are not eligible. Examples of eligible medical, dental, and vision expenses include deductibles, co-insurance, copays, hearing aids, well baby care, eye exams, LASIK eye surgery, eyeglasses, contacts and contact lens solution, non-cosmetic dental care, orthodontia, prescription drugs, certain over-the-counter medications, and much more. In general, eligible over-the-counter expenses are those items used to relieve pain or aid in healing. Examples include allergy medication, cough and cold remedies, pain relievers, and antacids. While these items are eligible for reimbursement from an FSA, a physician's prescription is required under IRS rules for reimbursement from an FSA. Items that are not directly related to the relief or cure of a specific medical condition are not usually considered eligible. These include items used for aesthetic purposes or those that are simply beneficial to one's general health, such as multivitamins. Other examples of ineligible expenses include weight loss aids, teeth whitening, electrolysis, gym memberships, insurance premiums, and long-term care expenses. A database of eligible and ineligible expenses can be found on the IntegraFlex website, or simply contact our dedicated customer service team if you have any questions about a specific item. Now let's take a look at dependent daycare expenses. Eligible dependent daycare expenses are different from eligible medical, dental, and vision expenses and must meet the following criteria. You and your spouse must be employed or a full-time student. The amount to be reimbursed cannot be greater than your income or your spouse's income, whichever is less. The child being cared for must be under the age of 13 and your dependent under federal tax rules. The daycare services may be provided in your home or another location, but not by someone who is your minor child or dependent, for example, an older sibling. If the services are provided by a daycare facility that cares for 6 or more children simultaneously, the facility must comply with state and local daycare regulations. Services must be provided for the physical care of the child and not for education or meals. To be reimbursed, you must have contributed the funds and incurred the expense. Qualified expenses also include day camps and after-school programs, as well as expenses for the care of a spouse or dependent who is incapable of self-care. Ineligible dependent daycare expenses include school expenses for children in kindergarten and above, overnight camps, expenses for non-disabled children 13 years and older, and daycare expenses incurred while you are not working. And remember, you cannot use FSA funds toward dependent daycare expenses if your spouse or other dependent is the one providing the care. The IRS, specifically IRS Publication 503, determines this criteria. You can review additional information including detailed eligibility guidelines by visiting the IntegraFlex website. Now we'll discuss how to contribute to your FSA. When it comes to how much you can contribute to your account in a given year, the amount depends on the type of FSA that you have and the limits established by the IRS. If you elect the medical FSA, the maximum amount that can be contributed per the IRS is $2,500. However, it is a good idea to check your employer FSA summary plan description or with your Human Resources Department for verification of your FSA maximum contribution amount. Currently, the maximum annual contribution limits for a dependent daycare account are $5,000 for a married couple filing jointly, $5,000 for a single parent, and $2,500 for a married person filing separately. Determining how much to contribute to your FSA is largely up to you, and depends on your unique needs and expenses that you expect to incur during a given plan year. We recommend reviewing past eligible expense purchases and using that as a guide to estimate this next year's expenses. Each election you make generally lasts 12 months, called a plan year. Once you make your election, you will not be able to change it during the plan year, unless you have a qualified status change as outlined by the IRS, so make sure you are confident in your annual election amount. Once you have estimated your annual election for the year, simply divide the total amount by the number of pay periods in the plan year. The result will be the amount that is deducted from your salary before taxes each pay period. We have created an FSA planning worksheet to help you estimate what your expenses might be and to help you determine how much to contribute to your FSA. There is also an FSA savings calculator that can assist you in projecting your estimated income tax savings. Both the FSA Savings Calculator and worksheet are available under the Education and Resources section of the IntegraFlex website. You can change your election at the beginning of each plan year, or in the event of a family change in status, often referred to as a qualifying event. Qualifying events include a change in legal marital status, change in employment status that affects health benefits, birth or adoption of a child, and having a dependent cease to satisfy eligibility requirements. Remember, eligible FSA claims must be incurred within the eligible claims period that is specified in your employer's FSA summary plan description, and the date of service rendered, or the date on which an expense was incurred, must fall within the eligible claims period in order to get reimbursed for the expense. If FSA funds are used toward claims incurred outside the eligible claims period, you will be asked to pay them back to the FSA plan. The funds are not lost, but are placed back into your FSA for use toward eligible expenses within the eligible claims period. Be sure to review your employer FSA summary plan description or ask your HR department if you are unsure about your company's eligible claims period. Because of the special treatment applied to FSAs, the IRS has rules in place governing the use of FSA funds. You may have heard the term, use it or lose it. This rule states that any unused FSA funds remaining in your account at the end of the eligible claims period must be forfeited to your employer and will not roll over to the next plan year. Please keep in mind, eligible FSA claims must be incurred within the eligible claims period that is specified in your employer's FSA summary plan description, or check with your HR department for more information about your plan year dates. To be reimbursed for eligible expenses, the date of service rendered or the date on which an expense was incurred must fall within the eligible claims period. Billing dates or statement dates are irrelevant. Plan ahead. Planning ahead will help you come up with a reasonable estimate of what your expenses might be and help avoid losing any unused funds. Something to think about with Use It or Lose It. Assuming an annual election of $1,600, but only $1,400 is used, with $200 being forfeited. Figuring conservative at a 25% tax bracket, your tax savings on the $1,400 used is $350. Subtracting the $200 forfeiture, you are still ahead by $150. Don't let the use it or lose it rules scare you, just be conservative with your annual election. Keep in mind, should your employment terminate, most plans allow a grace period for you to submit for reimbursement after your termination date. Your claims must be incurred on or prior to your termination date that you have not yet been reimbursed for. Be sure to review your employer FSA summary plan description or check with your HR department to find out what your grace period is, that you are able to seek reimbursement after your termination. Any funds remaining after your termination date grace period will be lost. Some FSA plans offer the IRS 2.5-month extension, which allows for FSA funds from last year's plan to be used the first 2.5 months of the new FSA plan year. For example, an FSA plan ending on December 31st. Any remaining funds can be used for claims incurred January 1st to March 15th of the following new FSA plan year. After March 15th, any FSA funds remaining in the previous year's FSA will be forfeited after your grace period deadline has been met. Be sure to check with your employer FSA summary plan description to see if the IRS 2.5-month extension is offered. Some FSA plans offer a $500 rollover provision, which allows for up to the lesser of $500 in FSA funds from last year's FSA plan to roll over into the new FSA plan year. For example, an FSA plan ending on December 31 with a claims run-out period ending on January 31 of the new FSA plan year will roll over the balance remaining up to the lesser of $500 on February 1 of the new FSA plan year. Be sure to check with your employer FSA summary plan description to see if the $500 rollover provision is offered. Let's talk about getting reimbursed from your FSA. When it comes to your medical FSA, even though your total annual medical FSA election is broken down by pay period and deducted over the course of the plan year, your entire annual election is available to you on day 1 of the plan year. The dependent daycare account works a bit differently. With a dependent daycare account, you only have access to the current balance that is in your account at the time a request for reimbursement is made. Throughout the plan year, as additional pre-tax deductions are withheld from your paycheck, reimbursements for dependent daycare claims that have not yet been paid will be released. IntegraFlex has made it simple for you to get reimbursed from your dependent daycare account with our annual dependent care contract. Simply have your daycare provider complete the contract and submit with a dependent daycare claim form at the beginning of the plan year, and we'll reimburse you when your payroll deposits have been made. In order to get reimbursed from your FSA for any eligible out-of-pocket expense that you incur, you must file a claim. You can file a claim manually or electronically. We will discuss both in the next few slides. As mentioned in the previous slide, in order to get reimbursed from your FSA for any eligible out-of-pocket expense that you incur, you must file a claim. You can file a claim manually or electronically. Here we will discuss a manual process. To file a manual claim, you must complete an IntegraFlex claim form, which is available on the IntegraFlex website. You must then send the claim form to IntegraFlex by fax or U.S. mail, along with a copy of either an itemized billing statement from your provider or an explanation of benefit from your insurance carrier. These are the only two acceptable forms of documentation under IRS regulation that can be used for substantiation of your claim. Substantiation is simply a record showing the expense for which you are requesting reimbursement is eligible. Please note, all other forms of substantiation are not acceptable and will result in a delay or possible denial of your reimbursement. IntegraFlex offers an even simpler way for you to submit your manual claim with our online claim submission form. Participants who submit their claims online through the IntegraFlex website can upload their substantiation documents and send them electronically to IntegraFlex. When you submit a manual claim, your reimbursement will either be U.S. mailed to you or to your employer, or it can be expedited with direct deposit into your personal bank account. You can set up direct deposit when you complete your enrollment form, or you can set it up at any time with our online direct deposit form. Be sure to check with your employer to see which reimbursement options are offered. By using your IntegraFlex benefits card to automatically and electronically process your claim, it is much simpler to pay for eligible expenses, and you can reduce the hassles associated with filing manual claims. Your IntegraFlex benefits card also improves your cash flow, because you no longer have to pay out of pocket and then wait to be reimbursed. Most of the time you can use your card directly at the point of service, eliminating the need to pay out of pocket and file a claim for reimbursement. But in the event you cannot use your card and must file a claim to obtain reimbursement from your FSA, you can complete our paper claim form or go online and complete an online claim submission, as discussed in the previous slides. Using your IntegraFlex benefits card is simple. Step 1. Present your card at eligible providers when paying for a product or service. Select Credit on the card payment terminal. After your card is swiped, data is sent to IntegraFlex and the amount you owe is automatically deducted from your FSA. Step 2. Hold on to your receipts. It is always a good idea to keep your itemized statements or explanation of benefit as proof that funds were used to pay for eligible expenses. IntegraFlex may need to request substantiation of certain expenses. We'll explain this shortly. Keep in mind, the IRS lays forth specific rules governing flexible spending accounts, so you will not be able to use your IntegraFlex benefits card for all types of purchases or in all locations. Here are some general rules when it comes to using your IntegraFlex benefits card. Products and services that you can pay for with your card will be limited to those deemed eligible by the IRS. In other words, your card will most likely be declined if you try to use it to pay for an ineligible expense. You cannot use your card at an ATM, and you cannot use your card to obtain cash back when making a purchase. If you wish to purchase both eligible and non-eligible items, for instance at a drugstore, many merchants are now able to take full advantage of the IntegraFlex benefit card features that allow for the automatic payment of eligible items only. Upon doing so, make sure to swipe your IntegraFlex benefits card first. If your FSA plan offers the IRS 2.5-month extension that was discussed earlier in this presentation, you will want to keep in mind your IntegraFlex benefits card will split your transaction, taking any funds from your previous FSA plan year first and exhaust the previous FSA plan balance remaining. You need to pay close attention when you are paying for last year's incurred expense and swiping your card in the new FSA plan year. You will want to be sure not to swipe your card and have FSA funds come from your new FSA plan and pay for last year's expense. Should this happen, you will be asked to pay back the funds that were taken from your new FSA plan and went toward paying for last year's expense. The funds are not lost, they are placed back into your FSA for use toward eligible expenses within the new eligible claims period. It's always a good idea to verify your remaining balance before swiping your card. You can check your account balance by logging into your account online through the IntegraFlex Employee Portal, the IntegraFlex mobile app, which we will discuss later in this presentation, or by contacting the IntegraFlex customer service team. Throughout this presentation, we have made mention of the fact that your FSA plan is governed by IRS rules and regulations, as well as guidelines set forth by your employer. In order to comply with these rules, IntegraFlex is sometimes required to request additional documentation from members to show that a particular item or service was eligible. This process is called substantiation. The good news is, thanks to constantly improving technology, approximately 80% of all IntegraFlex member claims do not require any documentation. Prescription transactions at approved merchants, for instance, as well as copay transactions, will be bypassed if your employer has provided us with your copayment information. Also, if you have recurring expenses, you will only be asked for substantiation one time, after which all subsequent claims for the exact amount for that exact item or service will not require receipts. You may receive a substantiation request in the mail, or when you provide an email address, we will send a request by email. To respond to the request, go to the IntegraFlex website and upload your documentation using the online claim form discussed earlier in this presentation, and the process will be complete. Under IRS requirements, either an itemized billing statement or an explanation of benefit are the only two forms of eligible documentation for substantiation. If you do not provide one of these two eligible forms, we will contact you again and request the additional and proper documentation. At IntegraFlex, we know life is busy, and no matter where it takes you, our goal is to simplify and make your on-the-go life as convenient as possible when it comes to accessing your flexible spending account securely at any time and from virtually anywhere with our IntegraFlex mobile app, allowing you to take care of your unverified IntegraFlex benefit card transactions on your time and at your convenience. With the IntegraFlex mobile app, you'll be able to access your detailed account information, including your account balance, plan details, recent card transactions, recent communications, along with claim receipt submission simply by taking a picture with your smartphone and uploading your documentation through the IntegraFlex mobile app. This not only will save you time, but as soon as you transact your IntegraFlex Benefits card for transactions other than a copay or prescription, you will be able to send your documentation immediately after your card transaction. Please note, you still may receive a receipt notification request by email because our debit card system sends a reminder notice immediately after your card transaction. You may simply disregard the notice when you have submitted your documentation. IntegraFlex will notify you by email once your transaction has been approved or if additional documentation is required. To get started, visit the IntegraFlex website and select Employee, then IntegraFlex Mobile in the drop-down menu to be directed to our IntegraFlex Mobile page for more details. To help members make the most of their FSA funds, IntegraFlex has an established partnership with FSA Store. With thousands of eligible items stocked daily, FSA Store lets you purchase eligible items online using your IntegraFlex Benefits card. You will receive free shipping on orders of $50 or more, 1 to 2 days turnaround time for your order, and 24/7 customer service. As you may already know, healthcare reform law requires you to obtain a prescription from your doctor for over-the-counter medications. With FSA Store, you can purchase those items using FSA funds without having to visit your doctor. FSA Store will call your doctor to obtain the prescription on your behalf. To get started, visit the IntegraFlex website and select Employee, then use your FSA dollars here in the drop-down menu to be directed to our FSA Store page for more details. IntegraFlex makes it simple for you to enroll in your company's FSA plan. Your employer will provide specific details on how to enroll, as well as enrollment materials for your plan. Once you have completed the enrollment process, be on the lookout for your IntegraFlex Benefits card to arrive in the mail. If you need additional cards for your spouse or dependents, IntegraFlex can provide them to you at no additional cost. Simply contact IntegraFlex customer service after you have enrolled to request additional cards. And please note, if you currently have an IntegraFlex Benefits card, cards are good for 3 years and your new FSA election will be loaded to your current IntegraFlex Benefits card. So be sure to not discard of your current IntegraFlex Benefits card. We hope you have found this information helpful as you prepare to get started with your new FSA plan. And remember, IntegraFlex is here to help you take advantage of all the savings and convenience that an FSA plan has to offer. Visit our website to access all relevant forms and materials, or contact our dedicated customer service team with any questions you may have. Thank you for choosing IntegraFlex. We look forward to working with you.